dive into today's episode, I just want to remind you to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us. It helps us grow, reach more amazing learners like you, and keep bringing you fresh and fun content every week. So don't forget, like, subscribe, and let's keep this journey going strong. Hello, wonderful idiom enthusiasts, and a very warm, hearty welcome back to another exciting and insightful episode of Idiom Insights. I'm Emma, your ever-dedicated guide on this linguistic journey, and I'm absolutely delighted, as always, to be here with you again. We're poised and ready to explore the fascinating meanings and often surprising origins of some more common English phrases. It's truly a pleasure to share this learning adventure with all of you as we continue to navigate the wonderfully rich and intricate tapestry of the English language.
And I'm Jack, your co-host and ever-keen idiom investigator, always eager to help shed some more light on the colorful and often quirky expressions that make English so wonderfully dynamic and perpetually interesting. It's absolutely fantastic to be back in the Idiom Insights studio, Emma, and a huge resounding hello to all our amazing listeners tuning in from every conceivable corner of the globe. Thank you so much for joining us once again for another enriching session of idiomatic exploration and discovery.
It's always a genuine highlight of my week, Jack. Today, we've meticulously curated a special selection of 4 incredibly useful and remarkably vivid idioms that you'll undoubtedly encounter in everyday English conversations and media. Truly understanding these will not only significantly boost your comprehension of native speakers, but also provide you with more natural, nuanced, and expressive ways to communicate your own thoughts, feelings, and observations. These expressive phrases cover the spectrum from dedicating yourself to hard work, finding yourself in a challenging predicament, expressing very strong refusal, and reacting with notable speed.
A truly excellent and wonderfully varied mix for our listeners today, Emma. These are precisely the kinds of idioms that really add considerable zest, color, and precision to any conversation, making your English sound much more fluent. So here are the 4 idioms we'll be diving deep into in this episode of Idiom Insights. First up, we have an idiom for working very hard and diligently. A classic, keep your nose to the grindstone. Second, there's a phrase for being involved in a situation that is clearly too difficult for you to handle effectively. In over your head. Third on our list is a very strong, almost visceral expression of refusal or unwavering opposition. Over my dead body. And finally, rounding off our selection, an idiom describing someone who is impressively quick to react or respond to things. Quick on the draw.
Those are all absolutely fantastic and highly evocative idioms, Jack. Each one, as you rightly pointed out, paints a very clear and distinct mental image, almost like a mini-story in itself. They are used frequently in various contexts, from casual chats to more formal discussions, so really getting to grips with them will be incredibly beneficial for our listeners as they engage in English conversations and encounter these phrases in everyday life, whether reading, listening, or speaking.
I couldn't agree more, Emma. They're all incredibly practical and add such a delightful layer of color and expressiveness to the language. And now, before we delve into the fascinating nuances of our very first idiom, a quick and truly sincere request from both of us here at Idiom Insights. If you're finding these episodes genuinely valuable for your ongoing English learning journey, and you enjoy our explorations into the world of idioms, please do take just a moment to subscribe or follow our podcast on your preferred listening platform. It really means a lot to us.
Yes, indeed. Subscribing is absolutely the best way to ensure you don't miss out on any of our future idiom adventures and exciting linguistic discoveries. We've always got more planned for you. And if you're feeling particularly supportive and generous today, a simple like or a positive rating on your chosen podcast platform truly helps other dedicated English learners discover Idiom Insights and join our community. We are so very grateful for your wonderful engagement and continued support. It genuinely keeps our own enthusiasm and motivation soaring high.
It genuinely makes a massive, tangible difference to us in the show. Thank you all so much for being such an integral part of our rapidly growing and wonderfully supportive community. Right then, Emma, are you ready to roll up our sleeves and get to work on our first idiom of the day?
Let's certainly do it. Our first idiom for this insightful episode of Idiom Insights is a very well-known one. Keep your nose to the grindstone.
Keep your nose to the grindstone. That sounds rather uncomfortable, doesn't it? Almost painfully so. Like you're literally pressing your nose against a rough, spinning, abrasive stone. What does this evocative idiom actually mean, Emma?
It does indeed sound quite uncomfortable, Jack. And that vivid, almost wince-inducing image very accurately reflects the core meaning. To keep your nose to the grindstone means to work very hard, incredibly diligently, and continuously, often for a prolonged period, focusing intently on your specific task and steadfastly avoiding any and all distractions. As you may know, a grindstone is a large revolving stone wheel, historically used for sharpening tools like knives or axes, and the idiom conjures up the image of someone bent determinedly over this grindstone, working very hard and concentrating with every fiber of their being.
So it's fundamentally about sustained, incredibly focused hard work and dedication. For instance, if someone is studying diligently for very important final exams, and they spend all day, every single day, cooped up in the library, meticulously poring over their textbooks and notes, they are definitely keeping their nose to the grindstone. They are completely and utterly dedicated to achieving success in their studies.
Precisely, Jack. That's a perfect illustration. Or consider an entrepreneur who is passionately trying to get a new business venture off the ground. They might have to keep their nose to the grindstone for many months, or even several challenging years, working incredibly long hours and making numerous personal sacrifices to ensure its ultimate success and viability. The idiom strongly implies considerable perseverance and a robust work ethic, often in the face of significant difficulty or a particularly demanding workload.
It certainly doesn't sound like much fun at all, though. It sounds much more like a necessary, perhaps even grueling slog required to achieve a specific, important goal. It definitely carries a strong sense of relentless, unceasing effort.
Yes, you're right. It often describes work that is particularly arduous, mentally taxing, or requires a great deal of unwavering concentration and sheer persistence. It's not typically used for enjoyable, leisurely activities or hobbies. It's really about knuckling down, buckling down, and focusing intently on a demanding task until it's fully completed without letting up or losing momentum.
So, to take another example, if a dedicated writer is desperately trying to finish a novel by a very strict, looming deadline, they would almost certainly need to isolate themselves from the world and truly keep their nose to the grindstone, writing for many long hours each and every day to have any hope of meeting that critical deadline.
Exactly. It's precisely that powerful image of intense, unwavering, focused labor.
Okay, so to recap before our dialogue, keep your nose to the grindstone essentially means to work very hard, diligently, and continuously on a specific task, focusing with great intent. Are we ready to hear Mia and Mark use this industrious idiom?
Let's listen in with anticipation. I wonder what demanding task one of them is currently focusing on so intently and with such dedication.
Mark, I honestly haven't seen you at any of our usual Friday after work socials for weeks and weeks now. Are you truly okay? We've all been genuinely wondering where on earth you've disappeared to. It's not like you to miss out.
Oh, hi, Mia. Yes, don't worry. I'm okay. Thanks so much for asking. I know I've been a bit of a hermit, decidedly antisocial lately. It's just that I'm deep in the throes of working on my master's thesis, and the final, unmovable submission deadline is just a single month away now. The pressure is really mounting.
That certainly explains everything. A master's thesis is an absolutely huge and often daunting undertaking. So you're spending practically all your free time chained to your desk working on that, I imagine?
Pretty much exactly that. Evenings, entire weekends. It seriously feels like all I do is research, write, edit, and then research some more. I really have to keep my nose to the grindstone relentlessly if I want to finish it on time and, importantly, to a good academic standard. There's just so much left to do, and I really can't afford any distractions whatsoever right now. Once it's finally submitted, I solemnly promise, I'll be back at the socials, perhaps even buying a round.
I completely and utterly understand, Mark. That's a massive commitment and a very stressful period, I'm sure. Well, the very best of luck with it. We'll all be cheering you on from the sidelines. Just please make sure you take a few necessary breaks here and there so you don't burn out completely from keeping your nose to the grindstone quite so intensely for so long.
That was a truly perfect and very relatable example. Mark clearly explained that he had to keep his nose to the grindstone on his master's thesis, meaning he was working extremely hard, continuously, and with unwavering, intense focus in order to meet his fast-approaching deadline.
Exactly so. The idiom beautifully conveyed the sustained and incredibly diligent effort he was demonstrably putting into his studies, often to the unfortunate exclusion of other, more enjoyable activities. And Mia, as a good friend, clearly understood the immense pressure and profound dedication that such a phrase implies.
It's a very common, highly descriptive, and widely understood idiom for that particular kind of intense, focused, and often solitary work.
It most certainly is. So the next time you or someone you happen to know is working incredibly hard and with great diligence on a particularly demanding task or project, you can accurately describe their efforts using the idiom, keep your nose to the grindstone.
And as always, we genuinely love to hear from you, our listeners. Tell us about a time you personally had to keep your nose to the grindstone. What monumental task were you working on? Please do share your experiences and stories in the comments section you'll find below this episode. We look forward to reading them.
That's a great idea, Jack, and we always enjoy reading those contributions. Let's move on now to our second carefully chosen idiom in this episode of Idiom Insights. This next one vividly describes being in a rather difficult, if not precarious, situation.
Our second idiom for our listeners today is in over your head.
In over your head. Now, this one immediately conjures up an image, doesn't it? It sounds like you're in deep water, perhaps in a swimming pool or the ocean, and you suddenly can't touch the bottom, maybe even struggling to stay afloat. Is that the kind of alarming feeling this idiom describes, Jack?
That's a very accurate and evocative image, Emma. You've hit the nail on the head there. To be in over your head means to be involved in a particular situation, project, or undertaking that is simply too difficult, excessively complex, or perhaps even dangerously risky for you to handle effectively given your current capabilities. It implies that you significantly lack the necessary skills, pertinent experience, adequate resources, or the sheer ability to cope with it successfully. And as a result, you might feel completely overwhelmed, out of your depth, and perhaps even panicky, just like being in water that's far too deep for you to stand in safely.
So it's really about finding yourself in a situation that dramatically exceeds your current capabilities, where you genuinely feel like you're drowning in a sea of problems or shouldering responsibilities you simply can't manage effectively. For example, if someone eagerly takes on a challenging new job with a lot of complex, high-stakes responsibilities they've never encountered before, and they quickly start making critical mistakes and feeling utterly overwhelmed by the pressure, they might soon realize they are indeed in over their head.
Precisely. That's a classic scenario. Or to take another angle, if someone unwisely borrows a huge sum of money that they have absolutely no realistic or foreseeable way of ever repaying, they are, without a doubt, financially in over their head. They've essentially taken on a massive commitment that is far too great for their financial capacity to manage. The idiom often implies a distressing sense of being trapped, struggling badly, and perhaps seeing no easy way out.
It certainly sounds like it's often a situation you might inadvertently get into by perhaps underestimating the true difficulty of the challenge ahead, or maybe by overestimating your own abilities or readiness. And then, once you're truly in it, it becomes incredibly hard to extricate yourself.
Yes, that's very often the case, unfortunately. It can also happen if circumstances change unexpectedly and dramatically, making a previously manageable situation suddenly far too difficult to navigate. The absolute key to this idiom is that pervasive feeling of being utterly unable to cope, of the challenges presented being demonstrably greater than your current capacity to deal with them effectively.
So, to illustrate further, if a university student ambitiously takes on far too many advanced courses all at once and then finds they simply can't keep up with the demanding workload and the inherently difficult subject material, they might understandably feel completely in over their head and quite distressed.
Exactly. They're effectively swamped, struggling to tread water, and feeling the pressure.
So to be in over your head essentially means to be deeply involved in a situation that is just too difficult or overwhelmingly complex for you to handle, often leading to feelings of being overwhelmed and stressed. Are you ready to hear Mia and Mark discuss someone in this predicament?
Let's definitely listen in. I wonder who amongst their colleagues might be struggling with a situation that's proving too challenging for them to manage.
Mia, have you happened to speak to David from the IT department recently? He seems incredibly stressed out, really quite agitated, and a bit lost every single time I see him around the office. He's not his usual self.
Oh, David? Yes, I know he was very recently promoted to lead that absolutely huge new system integration project. It's a truly massive responsibility, a real step up for him, especially considering he's never actually managed a project of that sheer scale or complexity before.
That's precisely what I was thinking. I just bumped into him in the communal kitchen area yesterday, and honestly, he looked like he hadn't slept properly in days, maybe even weeks. He was anxiously talking about all the unforeseen technical problems they're currently facing, the incredibly tight deadlines imposed by management, and the often conflicting demands coming from different departments. He seemed completely and utterly swamped by it all.
Based on what you're saying, it certainly sounds like he might be in over his head with that enormous project. It's undeniably a lot for anyone to handle, let alone someone without significant prior experience in managing such complex, multifaceted initiatives. I genuinely hope he's getting enough support and guidance from senior management because he'll surely need it.
I truly hope so too, for his sake. It's a terribly tough and isolating position to be in when you feel like you're completely in over your head and you just don't know how to cope or who to turn to. Maybe we should proactively check in with him, perhaps grab a coffee, and see if there's anything at all we can do to help, even if it's just to lend a sympathetic ear.
That dialogue very clearly and effectively shows the idiom in over your head in action. Mia and Mark were discussing David, who, by all accounts, seemed to be profoundly struggling with the immense responsibilities and pressures of a significant new project, leading them to suspect he was indeed in over his head. That is, facing a situation far too difficult for his current experience level and capabilities.
Exactly. The idiom perfectly and succinctly captured that distinct sense of David being thoroughly overwhelmed and seemingly unable to cope effectively with the escalating demands of the project. It effectively highlighted his perceived vulnerability in what is undoubtedly a very challenging professional situation for him.
It's a very common and often empathetic way to describe someone who is visibly struggling with an overwhelming task, a heavy burden of responsibility, or a complex problem.
It certainly is. So, the next time you encounter someone who appears to be involved in a situation that seems far too difficult for them to handle effectively, you might thoughtfully say they seem to be in over their head.
And again, we'd be fascinated to hear from you all. Have you ever personally felt in over your head? What was the specific situation, and how did you manage to handle it? Or what did you learn from it? Please do share your valuable experiences and insights in the comments section below the episode. Your stories are always so interesting.
That's a wonderful idea, Jack, inviting our listeners to share and connect. Let's move on now to our third powerful idiom in this episode of Idiom Insights. This next one is an expression of very strong, almost unshakable refusal.
Our third idiom for today, and it's a very forceful one, is over my dead body.
Over my dead body. Wow, Jack, that is an incredibly strong and rather dramatic statement, isn't it? What precisely does it mean when someone utters these rather grim words?
It is indeed one of the absolute strongest ways to express outright refusal or vehement opposition, Emma. To declare, over my dead body, means that you will do absolutely everything conceivable within your power to prevent something from happening, and that it will only, and I mean only, happen if you are literally dead and therefore physically unable to stop it. It's an incredibly emphatic, highly dramatic, and often emotionally charged way of saying absolutely not under any circumstances, or I will never ever allow that to occur.
So, it's clearly an expression of extreme, unwavering resistance and a profound determination to stop something, no matter the cost. For instance, if parents strongly and fundamentally disapprove of their teenager's sudden plan to drop out of school and impulsively travel the world without any preparation, they might very sternly say, "You're doing that over my dead body," meaning they will employ every possible means to prevent it from happening.
Precisely, that's a very fitting example. Or imagine if someone callously tries to suggest selling a deeply cherished family heirloom, perhaps a piece of jewelry that has been lovingly passed down for many generations. A family member who is profoundly attached to it might passionately declare, "You'll sell that precious necklace over my dead body." It unequivocally signifies an unbreakable, fierce resolve to oppose that particular action.
It's definitely not a phrase to be used lightly or casually. It conveys a very serious, deeply felt, and utterly unyielding opposition. It strongly implies that you would genuinely rather die than let the thing in question actually happen.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's classic hyperbole, a deliberate and significant exaggeration used for powerful dramatic effect, primarily to show the profound depth and intensity of your opposition. It's an unmistakable signal that you will not compromise, back down, or give in on that particular contentious issue.
So, to provide another context, if a local community is passionately and collectively fighting against a controversial plan to build a large, potentially polluting factory right in their beloved neighborhood, a particularly passionate resident might defiantly tell the developers at a town meeting, "You'll build that factory here over my dead body."
Exactly. It's a defiant, resolute, and absolute refusal, leaving no room for doubt.
So, the phrase "over my dead body" is an incredibly emphatic expression used to state unequivocally that you will do everything humanly possible to prevent something from happening. Are you ready to hear Mia and Mark use this powerful and dramatic idiom?
Let's certainly listen in. I'm very curious to find out what one of them is so vehemently and unreservedly opposed to.
Mark, I was just carefully looking at the newly proposed plans for the upcoming office renovation, and I happened to see that they're seriously thinking of getting rid of the much-loved quiet breakout room on our floor, apparently to make more space for additional hot desking.
What? Get rid of the quiet room? Are they serious? That's practically the only sanctuary, the only place I can go to really, truly concentrate when I have a complex, demanding task or need to make an important, confidential call without all the constant, distracting noise of the open plan office. I rely on it.
I know. I use it all the time, too. It's invaluable. It's absolutely essential for any kind of focused work or deep thinking. But the email I saw clearly states they are seriously considering reallocating that specific space for other purposes.
Seriously considering it, are they? Well, they can consider all they want, but if they actually try to take away our one and only designated quiet space, they'll definitely have a significant fight on their hands from me and others, I'm sure. I absolutely rely on that room for my productivity. As far as I'm personally concerned, they'll get rid of that vital quiet room over my dead body. I'm going to talk to HR, my line manager, and frankly, anyone else who will listen, to make absolutely sure they understand how utterly vital it is to so many of us here.
I'm completely with you on that one, Mark. It's a genuinely terrible idea, very short-sighted. Let's perhaps draft a strongly worded petition or gather some testimonials. We really need to show them how strongly we all oppose this ill-conceived notion.
That dialogue perfectly and dramatically illustrates the idiom. Mark emphatically used "over my dead body" to express his extreme and unwavering opposition to the unpopular plan to remove the quiet room, clearly indicating he would do everything within his power and rally others to prevent it from actually happening.
Precisely. The idiom vividly conveyed the remarkable strength and the completely unyielding nature of his adamant refusal. It was an exceptionally clear and unambiguous statement of his firm determination to fight vigorously against the proposed unwelcome change.
It's a very common, though highly emphatic and dramatic, way to express incredibly strong disagreement, utter refusal, or fierce opposition to something.
It most certainly is, and one to use with due consideration for its impact. So the next time you feel extremely and vehemently opposed to something and want to express that you will do absolutely everything to stop it, you might, perhaps carefully and judiciously, use the idiom "over my dead body."
And playing with this a bit, we'd love to hear from our listeners. What particular thing, proposal, or situation would make you definitively say, "over my dead body"? What are you completely and utterly unwilling to allow under any circumstances? Share your thoughts, perhaps humorously if you like, in the comments section below the episode. This should be fun to read.
That's another wonderful idea for engagement, Jack. Now, we've arrived at our fourth and final fascinating idiom for this particular episode of Idiom Insights. This one is all about impressive quickness and sharp reactions.
Our final idiom for today's session, listeners, is quick on the draw.
Quick on the draw. This phrase immediately makes me think of classic cowboys in old Western movies, doesn't it? Drawing their guns incredibly fast in a tense, high-stakes duel. Is the meaning of this idiom directly related to that kind of astonishing speed and readiness, Jack?
You've absolutely hit the bullseye with that vivid Western image, Emma. You're spot on. The idiom quick on the draw indeed originates from the legendary, often life-saving ability of a gunfighter to draw their firearm from its holster and fire it with lightning speed, often faster than their opponent. When this phrase is applied more generally in modern English, it means to be very fast to react to something, to respond to a question or situation, or to understand a concept swiftly. It typically describes someone who is mentally alert, exceptionally quick-witted, or notably prompt to take decisive action when needed.
So it's fundamentally about remarkable mental or physical speed, alertness, and responsiveness. For example, if someone tells a clever joke with a subtle punchline, and another person immediately understands it and laughs heartily, or perhaps even comes back instantly with an equally witty reply or a follow-up joke, they are demonstrating that they are quick on the draw. They processed the information and reacted remarkably fast.
Precisely. That's a great everyday example. Or consider a fast-paced debate. A politician who can immediately think of a clever, articulate, and highly effective response to a challenging or unexpected question from an opponent is definitely quick on the draw. It's all about that rapid mental agility and verbal dexterity. It can also, as you hinted, refer to being quick to act physically or seize an opportunity. For instance, if there's a sudden, fleeting business opportunity, the person who recognizes it and seizes it immediately without hesitation is also quick on the draw.
So it appears it can be about quick thinking, quick speaking, or quick acting. It certainly implies a notable sharpness, readiness, and an ability to process things rapidly. It sounds like it's almost always a positive trait to possess, usually.
Yes, you're generally right. It's almost always intended as a compliment. It strongly suggests someone is intelligent, highly alert, perceptive, and able to respond effectively and swiftly to various situations as they unfold. However, it's worth noting that it could occasionally be used in a slightly negative or critical sense if someone is perhaps too quick to jump to conclusions without all the facts, or reacts impulsively without thinking things through fully. But the primary and most common meaning is definitely about admirable speed and efficiency of response.
That's a useful distinction. So, for example, if a customer service representative can understand a frustrated customer's complex problem almost immediately and then offer a suitable and effective solution very quickly and confidently, they are definitely quick on the draw and, as a result, provide excellent, memorable service.
Exactly. They're both fast and highly effective in their role.
So, to summarize, quick on the draw means being very fast to react, to respond, or to understand something, often impressively so. Are you ready to hear Mia and Mark use this particular idiom to describe someone?
Let's definitely listen in. I wonder who is impressing them with their remarkably speedy reactions or sharp thinking this time.
Mark, you won't believe it, but I was in that rather tense emergency brainstorming session this morning when the client, out of the blue, suddenly changed all the crucial project requirements at the very last minute. It was pretty chaotic for a moment there, and I think everyone was a bit stunned and unsure how to react.
Oh, I definitely heard some rumblings about that. That must have been an incredibly stressful and high-pressure meeting to be in. How did Susan, our highly capable team leader, actually handle that sudden bombshell? That kind of abrupt, major change can easily throw everything completely off track and cause widespread panic.
You know, honestly, Susan was absolutely amazing to watch. As soon as the client had finished outlining the entirely new requirements, and literally before anyone else in the room could even fully process the implications, Susan was already up at the whiteboard, rapidly sketching out a revised project plan and beginning to assign new adjusted tasks. She immediately identified the key challenges the new requirements posed and started proposing viable solutions on the spot.
Wow, that's truly impressive leadership. So she didn't panic or get flustered at all in that critical moment?
Not one bit. She was so incredibly quick on the draw. It was remarkable. She understood the full implications almost instantly and started formulating a coherent new strategy right there and then, in front of everyone. Her amazing ability to think clearly on her feet and react so decisively and effectively under immense pressure really saved the day and calmed everyone's nerves. We all left that meeting feeling much more confident and reassured that things were under control.
That's our Susan for you. She's always been incredibly quick on the draw in a crisis situation. It's undoubtedly one of her best and most valuable qualities as a leader in this company.
That dialogue provided a splendid illustration of the idiom in a real-world context. Mia compellingly described how her team leader, the amazing Susan, reacted very quickly, calmly, and effectively to a sudden and unexpected crisis. She immediately understood the new requirements and began formulating a plan. She was, without a doubt, exceptionally quick on the draw.
Exactly so, Jack. The idiom perfectly highlighted Susan's impressive mental agility, her clear ability to think rapidly on her feet under duress, and her swift, highly effective response to a potentially very challenging situation. It was certainly a clear and well-deserved compliment to her outstanding leadership skills.
It's a very common and generally very positive way to describe someone who is demonstrably mentally sharp, alert, and responds with notable swiftness and competence.
It most certainly is a complimentary one. So the next time you want to describe someone who is very fast to react, understand a complex issue, or respond effectively and efficiently, remember the evocative idiom, quick on the draw.
And for our final call for interaction today, we'd love to hear about someone you know who is consistently quick on the draw. What makes them so quick and responsive in your opinion? Please do share your examples and observations in the comments section below this episode. We always learn from your contributions.
We always appreciate reading your insightful contributions and personal stories. Well, Jack, it feels like we've explored 4 more really insightful, practical, and wonderfully useful idioms in this engaging episode of Idiom Insights.
We certainly have, Emma. It's been another great session. Just to briefly recap these 4 excellent idioms for everyone tuning into Idiom Insights today, we learned.
Firstly, keep your nose to the grindstone, which, as we discussed, means to work very hard, extremely diligently, and continuously, often for a long time.
Then we had in over your head, describing the uncomfortable situation of being involved in something that is far too difficult for you to handle effectively.
Next was the very strong over my dead body, which is an emphatic expression of profound and unwavering refusal or determined opposition.
And finally, we covered quick on the draw, meaning to be impressively fast to react, to respond, or to understand something.
4 more absolutely fantastic and highly practical phrases to add to your ever-expanding English vocabulary. Please remember, listeners, the very best way to truly make these idioms your own and use them confidently is to actively listen for them in various contexts, in movies, songs, conversations, and then, crucially, to try using them yourself in your own spoken conversations and written communications. Consistent practice is undoubtedly the key to building confidence and fluency.
Absolutely. Don't ever be afraid to experiment with a new language. The more you actively use these idioms, the more comfortable and natural they will feel as part of your repertoire, and the more expressive and engaging your English will inevitably become.
And if you thoroughly enjoyed learning with us today, and we sincerely hope that you did find it both enjoyable and beneficial, please do consider giving this episode of Idiom Insights a like, and perhaps leaving us a positive review on your preferred podcast platform. Your generous support truly helps us to reach more dedicated learners just like you, and enables us to keep producing this valuable content.
And of course, please make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button for Idiom Insights so you don't miss a single one of our future episodes, where we'll continue to enthusiastically unravel the wonderful, sometimes perplexing, but always fascinating world of English idioms together.
Thank you all so very much for joining us today for another session of idiomatic discovery. It's truly been a pleasure exploring these interesting and useful phrases with you all.
Keep learning, keep listening with keen ears, and we'll be sure to catch you next time right here on Idiom Insights. Take care.
Goodbye, everyone.
See ya.